Welcome back to Chat Like a Native.
Great to be here.
Today, we're tackling something that can, well, instantly transform your English conversations, making them feel less short, maybe, and much more engaging, more natural.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever felt your yes or fine or maybe just okay doesn't quite cut it?
I think we all have at some point.
Or, wished you could connect a bit more smoothly with native English speakers.
Absolutely. That connection piece is huge.
If that sounds like you, then stick with us. We're going to unpack some actually surprisingly simple shifts you can make in how you reply.
And trust us, it'll make a huge difference, really, in how you communicate and how people respond back to you.
Exactly. It's about more than just the words, isn't it?
Totally. Think about it. For those of you pushing past the basics, really wanting to, nail that fluent, confident feel in English, this is so key.
Right.
We've looked at a bunch of insights on what makes conversations flow, and it's often subtle changes in your responses that have the biggest impact.
Moving beyond just information towards connection.
That's it, exactly. It's about really connecting with the person you're actually talking to.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. What is the real issue with those short, maybe one-word answers when you're trying to have a proper chat?
Well, it's interesting. Because while a simple yes is, grammatically fine,
Sure.
in a conversation, it can sometimes, maybe unintentionally, signal a bit of a lack of interest. Whether you're just chatting with friends or in a work discussion or even, say, in an English class, right?
Yeah.
Those really short replies can sometimes create a kind of conversational dead end.
Right. It's almost like you're closing the door, aren't you? Even if you don't mean to.
Precisely.
Like if someone asks, did you have a good weekend? And you just say, fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't really invite them to ask more or, share their weekend, does it?
Not at all. And actually, studies show that slightly expanded replies are just seen as more polite, more engaging. Those short answers, even if they're totally truthful, can sometimes come across as a bit dismissive.
Ah, right. Dismissive.
And they definitely don't help keep that smooth conversational flow going. It can lead straight to those, awkward silences we all try to avoid.
Okay, so avoiding the awkward silence. How do we break free from that one-word habit? How do we make our English sound more, natural and inviting?
Well, a really effective starting point, and this comes up again and again in communication studies, is the simple act of acknowledging the other person.
Acknowledging.
Yeah, and maybe adding just a touch of politeness or gratitude right at the start of your response.
That sounds easy enough. Can you give us an example? How does that work?
Sure. So instead of just yes, when someone asks if you, say, tried that new restaurant,
Okay.
you could easily say something like, oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, I did try it.
Ah, okay. That little thanks for asking.
Exactly. Just softens the whole thing, shows you appreciate they're interested.
Yeah.
You could also use phrases like, I appreciate you checking in. Or even, that's a great question, it just frames your answer a bit more positively right from the get-go.
It makes total sense. It's like adding a little conversational cushion,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. A cushion.
So, okay, we've added that cushion, that acknowledgement. What's the next step then to build a more engaging reply?
The next really crucial thing is to weave in some detail.
Detail.
Even if it's just one small piece of information. This is where you really give the other person something to, latch onto, something to respond to.
Right. So back to our example. Instead of just fine when asked how you are.
Exactly. You could stretch that to something like, it was fine. Actually, I finally finished that mystery novel I've been reading.
Oh, okay. See, that's already more interesting.
Instantly. That one extra sentence gives context.
Yeah.
Or you could mention specifics like, I caught a film at the new cinema last night.
Yeah.
Or share a feeling I felt so relaxed after my hike. Maybe add a quick reason why. Because the trail was just so quiet and peaceful. Even just one sentence of detail like that can have a surprisingly big impact on the conversation.
I can totally see that. Adding detail just opens up way more possibilities for the other person to respond, doesn't it?
It really does.
So, okay, we've acknowledged, we've added detail. What's another key strategy we can pull out?
Well, our third strategy is all about keeping the conversational ball rolling.
Keeping it going.
Yeah, by adding a follow-up question at the end of your reply.
Asking something back.
Exactly. It shows you're not just, passively receiving information. It shows you're actively engaged. You're interested in them, too.
So if someone tells you about their amazing weekend trip, instead of just saying, oh, sounds nice, You could.
Precisely. You can say, that sounds amazing. How about you? Did you do anything interesting this weekend? Or something similar?
Simple follow-ups then.
Yeah, really simple ones work great. Like, what about you? How was your kill? Or even, have you ever? If it fits. It just shares the responsibility, for keeping the conversation alive. And it helps build that connection, that rapport.
That's a great point. It makes it feel much more like a two-way street, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Now, okay, we've talked about adding words at the beginning, like acknowledging, and at the end, like questions. What about those little words in the middle, the fillers?
Ah, yes. Discourse markers and fillers. They absolutely have a role to play.
Do they? I always thought they were just space.
Well, they are space sometimes, but useful space.
Yeah.
They're those little words and phrases like, wow, actually, that help your speech flow more naturally.
Okay.
They give you a tiny moment to think so the conversation doesn't just grind to a halt.
Right. Avoids the panic moment.
Exactly. And they also kind of signal that you're about to say more, that you're elaborating, rather than just giving a short, curt answer.
So or maybe are those included?
Yeah, those too, but also things like, well, or actually, to be honest. So anyway, loads of them.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Instead of a blunt no, maybe if someone asks if you're free tomorrow,
Yeah.
you might say, well, actually, I won't be free tomorrow.
Sure.
See? That actually softens it and gives you space to maybe add why or suggest another time.
Got it. So they make it sound less abrupt, give you thinking time?
Precisely. They're not just empty noise. They really help the rhythm and flow of natural English conversation.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned something earlier that I found really interesting. The idea of bringing replies to life somehow.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
That brings us nicely to our fifth strategy, sharing mini stories or brief examples.
Mini stories. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. This is where you can really transform a potentially, dull reply into something much more engaging, a little snippet of your life.
Okay, how would that work? So maybe someone asks how your new coffee machine is, instead of just, it's good.
Exactly. You could say something like, oh, it's great. Actually, I made this amazing latte this morning. Seriously, the best I've had at home in ages.
Huh. Okay, I see. That's much better.
Right. It's short. It's personal. You've got a mini narrative there. The machine making the latte, the great result. Even just a quick, maybe 10, 15-second story like that can make a conversation much more memorable and, well, human.
That's so true. Adds personality, makes you more relatable.
Yeah.
Okay, great tip. Now, what's our final strategy for today? For expanding those replies and really connecting.
Our sixth strategy is a subtle but effective one. It's mirroring.
Mirroring, like copying.
Not exactly copying, but subtly repeating or echoing part of the question you were just asked, and then expanding on it.
Okay. How does that work in practice?
So let's say someone asks you, how are you finding your new English course?
Right.
A mirrored answer might start, oh, I'm really enjoying the new English course. So you've echoed their phrase.
Ah, okay. Finding becomes enjoying.
Exactly. And then you add the detail.
Right.
The teacher is fantastic, and I feel like I'm learning heaps.
Got it. So you use part of their question to anchor your answer.
Precisely. It shows you've really listened carefully, and it directly addresses their point before you add your own information. Useful phrases could start with, I'm finding it, or I really like, or I've noticed that. It's just a really solid way to add clarity and depth to what you're saying. Mirroring plus elaboration.
These are all fantastic, really practical tips. It's amazing how small tweaks can make such a difference.
They really can.
But I guess, like anything new, making these strategies feel, natural takes a bit of practice, right?
Oh, absolutely. It won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's really about consciously trying to weave these into your everyday conversations.
Start small, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Don't try to do everything at once. Maybe just focus on one or two for a week. Perhaps adding that acknowledgement like, thanks for asking.
Or adding just one extra detail.
Exactly. Or trying to ask a follow-up question. The more you practice, honestly, the more these slightly longer, more engaging replies will just become second nature.
So let's recap quickly then. The key isn't about giving long, complicated speeches.
Not at all.
It's about adding those small but really significant bits. A polite opening, a touch of detail, maybe a tiny personal story or example. And importantly, inviting the other person to keep chatting by asking something back.
That's the core of it. Those simple shifts can really smooth out your English conversations, show you're genuinely engaged.
And help you build stronger connections.
Exactly. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
It really is.
And maybe here's something for you, the listener. to think about as you go about your day.
Ooh, a takeaway task.
Kind of. Just think back to a recent conversation where maybe you gave quite a short answer.
Okay.
How could you have used just one of these strategies we talked about today to expand on it a little? What difference, what impact do you think that small change might have actually had on the conversation, on the connection?
That's a fantastic point to mull over. Brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing all these valuable insights today.
My pleasure. It's important stuff.
It really is. And thank you all for tuning in to Chat Like a Native. We'll catch you next time with more ways to help you speak English with confidence and, well, fluency.